opinions are almost shaped by four different things. Understanding what generates those opinions is pretty important in the context of trying to get closer to truth, if that makes sense. The first thing I think to realize with regards to today's topic is that opinions actually shape the worldview we see the world with. So understanding what generates those opinions is pretty important in the context of trying to get closer to truth, if that makes sense. And the thing I've come to realize is that opinions are almost shaped by four different things I can think about, or four different pillars. So those pillars include thoughts or ideas, and then we have behaviors, interpretations, which is almost like an extension of thoughts, and then emotions. So I think those four pillars are actually the things that end up shaping the final opinion, let's say. Although some of them are subconscious, we don't really see them directly affecting the opinions, but it's pretty good to be conscious of those four things and then try to prescribe what we can do to approach our opinions in a much more objective way, let's say. And another thing to actually mention with regards to this is that those four variables actually affect each other, and by extension, those four variables have other things in the outside environment that actually affects them. So you can see how complex this process is, and we tend very much to actually just shape our opinions, but the process is actually very complex, and that's why it needs to be elaborated on like we're doing today. And so in light of these four pillars we've actually mentioned, I think it now makes sense to move on to some kind of prescription that actually makes us approach our opinions with a much more objective eye, let's say. And one of the most important prescriptions or approaches that actually stood out to me when I was thinking about this is the ability to actually articulate opinions. So if you can actually articulate your opinion, then that's a very good check against a bias opinion. Although bias is never going to be ruled out completely, but if you actually can articulate your opinions, then out of the four things we've actually mentioned, you're going to be more tending towards the thought side of things. So you're going to be less affected by the emotion side of things, because the emotions are usually subconscious. They're usually things we can't actually articulate. So as soon as you realize you can't really articulate your opinion, then you have to think about it twice, because at that point, you're kind of tending towards the emotional side of things, which is not the rational thing to do with regards to opinions, because emotions are very much internal and they're not very much grounded on objective reality, let's say. One thing I will add with regards to the articulation prescription we've actually mentioned is that when I say articulation, I don't really mean it in a very rigid sense. I mean it in a very flexible sense. So articulation would include things like writing and all these other things. Although I think articulation in its very full form should be social, should be between two or more people. But even writing your own opinions is actually included in the idea of articulation. And so this is one metric or one proxy we can actually check our opinions against and see how well grounded our opinions are. The last thing I'll actually mention with regards to today's topic is something I have been hearing a lot recently, which is the approach that one should always change their mind, or one should always change their opinions in the context of today's video. But I think this approach is not very much healthy, because when you have this principle as a general one towards all of your opinions, then you'll have pressure to change your good opinions as well. But I think we should just build a framework and see how our opinions are shaped and try to understand that as we did today, and then we can see how well grounded our opinion is. So this concludes our video for today. I hope you find this video beneficial, and I also hope you've shaped a positive opinion towards this channel, no pun intended, and see you next time.